What is going on, people? Triple M back again with another video. I hope you guys are doing well on this lovely Sunday afternoon. It's not so lovely if you're a Manchester United fan, because there's been some breaking news earlier this morning that has sent shockwaves throughout the Manchester United fan base, suggesting that Dan Ashworth has left his role officially as Manchester United sporting director. And if you look at the club statement, there really isn't much information beyond them just confirming the news that Dan Ashworth will no longer be sporting director of Manchester United. Now, since then, we've had several reports suggesting that Dan Ashworth was not on the same page as his other executives, Barada, Wilcox, and other members of the recruitment staff with regards to the Ten Hag situation and the appointment of Ruben Amorim. There are a lot of reports suggesting that Dan Ashworth wanted to hire Gareth Southgate as manager of Manchester United Football Club, and there's just been a breakdown of communication and strategy between him and those said parties, and ultimately that's why he has left after just 5 months of joining Manchester United Football Club. Now, there's two things that I really want to discuss here that I think are very important, because there's a lot of outrage in the Manchester United fan base. There's a lot of confusion from some people, because some people are not outraged. Some people are just confused because of all the lack of information and the sudden breaking of this news. There's been no reports up until this point suggesting that Dan Ashworth was going to leave. And then, of course, alternatively, there's people who feel very validated, right? There's people who never wanted Ineos to be in charge in the first place. And those people are now using this as another piece of evidence as to why Ineos were the wrong people to take over the club. And I'm going to address all of those points in today's video as quickly and as concisely as I possibly can. First, I'll start with the people who are outraged. This does not look good. Hiring a person, spending several months trying to get them out of their contract from Newcastle United, only to sack them in 5 months of them arriving at Manchester United, is not a good thing. And the outrage from that regard is perfectly justified. However, if it is found out, whether now or later on, that Dan Ashworth did really want Gareth Southgate as manager and that Dan Ashworth really wasn't on the same page as the football club, surely it's a good thing that Ineos have rectified their mistake within 5 months, rather than waiting and patiently backing a process that was never going to work because the person in charge of our recruitment is not on the same page as the club and the vision that the club have set, right? Surely this is a good thing. I've seen Manchester United fans comparing this situation to situations we've had under Ed Woodward. And I think that is really unfair and really disingenuous, because Ed Woodward would never rectify a mistake this quickly. Ed Woodward would wait for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years before making backroom staff changes. In fact, one of the biggest complaints for many Manchester United fans over the last 10 years is that we've had no footballing structure and we take too long to rectify poor decisions, and we take too long to get things done and admit our mistakes. Whether it comes to players, recruitment staff, or managers, we just don't act quickly enough. We are not ruthless like a big club should be. How many people said that Erik ten Hag should have been sacked after the FA Cup final because big clubs don't wait, big clubs act immediately? Now Manchester United are actually rectifying mistakes quickly and doing things swiftly. Yes, maybe they shouldn't have appointed him in the first place, but we do have to give them credit for rectifying it quickly rather than waiting, because the previous regime would have never done that. So that's the first point out of the way. The second point is the people who are confused, right? I'm in that camp. I'm not outraged. I'm not upset. I'm confused. I'm confused because I want to know why Dan Ashworth has been sacked, because that will change my opinion on this entirely. If it is indeed true that he wanted Gareth Southgate, then this is 100% the right decision, and he should never ever come back to Manchester United, because that would have been a terrible appointment. However, if it turns out that he has fallen out with the board and the board have not given him the full control and power to do his job as sporting director, and there's been a bit of a civil war going on in Manchester United, that's a different story entirely. Now, we haven't seen any reports suggesting that, so I don't think there's any point talking about that in today's video, simply because I think it's just entertaining nonsense, right? It's just conspiracy theories. We don't know. We can only go off what the reports are saying. And what the reports are saying is that Dan Ashworth made a lot of unpopular decisions that ultimately Barada, Wilcox, and the other executives, Brailsford as well, involved in the decision-making process were like, nah, chief, we're not doing that. You want to go this way? We think we should go this way based on what the owners are telling us and based on our unified vision. So it's either you're with us or you're against us. And it seems like Ashworth was against them. The last point I'll sort of address when it comes to the situation is the people who are essentially saying, here's another piece of example as to why Ineos are bad for the club. To these people, I'm never going to convince you that Ineos are not the right people for the club. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, I never wanted Ineos as owners in the first place. However, when they got here, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it time. I'm not going to be one of these people that just because I didn't want a certain owner or a particular director of football or a particular technical director or CEO or whatever. I'm not going to be one of these people who just beat every single decision who beat Ineos for every single decision they make just because I didn't want them to begin with, right? I will give it time because I want to be proven wrong. I want Ineos to be successful because I want Manchester United to be successful because I'm a Manchester United fan. And actually, I'm a fan of the Brailsford appointment. I'm a fan of the Barada appointment. I'm a fan of the Wilcox appointment. And I was a fan of the Dan Ashworth appointment before I knew he wanted Southgate, when I thought that he would actually be a good fit for Manchester United Football Club. Obviously, that opinion has changed because of this morning's news. I am a huge fan of a lot of the signings that Ineos have made because they just make sense on a logical level to me. I love Mazraoui. I love De Ligt. And in fact, Lenny Euro, I think, was a brilliant piece of business, right? I am a fan of a lot of what Ineos have done. So this news today is not going to change that, and it's not going to make me suddenly become Ineos out. I am not a fan of them keeping Ten Hag as long as they did. That is the one decision that I absolutely hate. And if it turns out that Dan Ashworth did indeed have different transfer targets or a different vision to the board, then I'm not happy with this decision. I'm happy that they've rectified it quickly, but I'm not happy that they hired him in the first place. And this is another red flag for Ineos as far as I'm concerned. But again, it doesn't mean I'm Ineos out. It doesn't mean that I suddenly want Ineos to go because it's only been 6 months. I think it's ludicrous to want the ownership out this early on into their reign. That's just me personally. You don't have to agree with it. You can let me know respectfully in the comments down below if you disagree with me or if you agree with me. Let me know, what do you think of Manchester United's current situation? For me, this doesn't really change anything in the grander scheme of things because I am still a big believer in this process. We are still early days in, and I'm not going to be one of these fans who just jumps early and just wants to be reactive because I never wanted Ineos to begin with anyways. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay true to my word. Again, I didn't want Ineos to take over the club, but when they did, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. Me bitching and moaning online about it is not going to change anything. So let me try to get behind this process and see what happens. And then during the summer, they made good decisions, that at least what I think are good decisions. And that's not suddenly going to change because they've sacked Dan Ashworth now. Dan Ashworth. I can't even speak anymore. So that there you go. Those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions on the situation. Please, please, please leave a like on the video if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. And you guys are absolute legends. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon. I'm looking forward to some of the football later today. I think I'm going to watch, obviously, the Chelsea versus Spurs game later on. But there's some cracking games before that as well. So, lots of football to watch today. I'm not really going to get too bogged down on this Manchester United news because at the end of the day, I feel like we need more information before we can make conclusive opinions about it. And I think we live in a time now where people want to jump so early. People can't just wait and see what happens. People can't just wait for the full details of a story to develop and come out. People have to jump early. People have to be Ineos in, Ineos out, Ineos shake it all about. People can't just relax and think, you know what? I'm going to chill. Let me actually wait until all the full information comes out before I make an informed opinion. People don't want to do that anymore. Critical thinking is in short supply, and it just seems like outrage and being polarized is the new norm in society. And I refuse to partake in that. I'm just going to be level-headed, sensible, and calm. I've always said that this process is going to take time. I've always said that Manchester United are going to have a terrible season regardless of who we bring in as manager. And I've always said that even though short-term things are not going to look good, I still believe in the long-term future of the club. And that hasn't changed today. So I'm going to stay consistent until I feel like I've given this process enough time and now I can actually assess it and either be against it or for it. Otherwise, it's been your boy Triple M. Adios.